Hello there, I'm MountPain27 and this is Dean of Doom, the show we give grades to classic and contemporary Doom wads. Why? Because ranking things is fun. Today's episode will be dedicated to Requiem, a 1997 megawad, so named because it was expected to be the last relevant megawad ever made, a requiem for Doom before its imminent demise at the hands of Quake and Duke Nukem 3D. The Doom Wiki summarizes it better than I can, but Requiem had a troubled incubation period, unlike its swiftly assembled spiritual prequels Memento Mori 1 and 2, which came out within a year of one another. Evidenced by the inconsistency of the final product, the mappers coordinated very little with each other. One of them even left the community midway through development. Project moderator Chris Thornton had a hell of a time getting a full 32 maps together, going so far as to threaten Requiem's cancellation or incomplete release, prompting Capellan, Windsor to swoop in and save the day by filling the gaps with maps originally made for his megawad Demonfear. Requiem's eclectic style, buggy final build, and somber mission statement make it one of the weirdest megawads in the canon, but it's also one of the most technically advanced map sets of the pre-source port era, and its soundtrack contains some of the best work Mark Klem, David Shaw, and Jeremy Doyle ever produced. So here's how the show works. Every map gets one grade for quality and one for difficulty. Quality grades go from A to F. Grade A levels are fun, memorable, visually distinctive, creative, and a fair challenge. We grade difficulty from X to E, X for extreme, E for easy, A through D in between. Keep in mind, my idea of a great map is probably not the same as yours, but that's okay. Disagreeing is part of the fun, after all. At the end of the day, this show is about spreading the joy of Doom, so let's do so. Before we start, the rules are, we play on ultra violence and must pistol start each level. I need to play the wad twice before reviewing it. Saves are allowed, and we go for 100% kills in all levels, making exceptions when it's just not worth it. I play on Z-Doom, and today's compatibility is vanilla. Now, to the wad. Map 1, the Gateway. It's easy to take detailing for granted nowadays, especially for those of us who were toddlers in the late 90s, but I'm going to make an effort not to in this episode. The Gateway remixes Entryway's texture scheme and compensates for its autopilotable combat with lots of lines per square foot and a chugging David Shaw MIDI. Make sure you knock out all the respawning zombie sentries before checkout time. Grade C+, difficulty E. Map 2, Sacrificium. Ooh, starting where the last level ended. How fancy. It takes longer to pronounce the names of Sacrificium's co-authors than it does to beat it. I feel like I'm losing karma killing these pinky NPCs. The arbitrary pain elemental and super lava around the red key are the only remotely hazardous parts of this map, though you might get stumped trying to figure out how to move forward if you're as much of a stranger to Requiem as I am. Grade C-, difficulty E. Map 3, Poison Processing. I want to apologize in advance if I mispronounce this fellow's name. Capellan was one of the most celebrated Doom mappers of the 90s. In 1998, Capellan was voted the best level maker by the writers of Doom World's 5 Years of Doom celebration, beating out even John Romero. Looking out at this Arctic wasteland, you might be wondering what all the fuss is about. But then... one thing's for sure, Capellan's aesthetic chops were head and shoulders above his peers. Even today, Poison Processing looks downright handsome with its tasteful color coordination, smooth transitions to new themes, and gifted use of scrolling textures. Have a gander at the blue laser beams marking this locked door, and this optical illusion that makes it look like the portal is converging on itself. Spectacular stuff. Capellan's artwork dazzles, but he's a bit of a taskmaster on the gameplay side. Unless you're an expert marksman or playing amateur lumberjack, ammo's really tight, and medikits are few and far between. Step lightly around the hit scanners and toxic floor, melee judiciously, and if you can survive this imp surge and the nasty corridor immediately after, you're in the clear. Poison Processing is a big difficulty hike, but the visuals are out of sight and clearly gave Alien Vendetta's brightest a few good ideas. Grade A-, difficulty B-. Map 4, Fireworks. If you let the demo play from the title screen on vanilla-based ports, this will be the first glimpse of Requiem you get to see. A lava castle under glowering mountains and gray clouds. I'm pretty sure the Requiem guys were not pistol starters, because even early in the megawad, you really have to count your shotgun shells. You can't rely on martial arts either, because the berserk pack and chainsaw are stashed in the deathmatch part of the level. This blue key teleport gave me a shock, and the moment where 4 cacos emerge from the molten moat is pretty damn cool, but Fireworks is otherwise pretty routine stuff. The only question I have is, would you die for this? Grade C, difficulty D. Map 5, the Canyon. This map's got a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde thing going on. The Canyon's resting state is subdued, gentlemanly, and rather boring, but McClendon's wacky detours into bloody intestine-draped hell are rough-hewn, violent, and morbidly interesting. The map pendulums between corridor shooting and overstuffed teleport ambushes that come down to how much ammo you've got in your backpack. Neither are a whole lot of fun, but I admit the poison catwalk room's pair of meatballs and wannabe barons do a pretty treacherous little dance. Players who miss the secret yellow key are going to feel the FOMO. It opens a rancid flesh tunnel packed with health and a backstage pass to this annoying imp cliff in the canyon itself. McClendon also throws in a rocket launcher for the price of a jump scare. This is not a map I wanted to forget to hit the record button on, but thankfully, knowing its quirks makes it easy to dismantle. Grade C-, difficulty C. Map 6. Hold on, let me get a mirror. Oh my goodness, it says Tribute to Satan. Scandalous. The Innocent Crew's only Requiem submission is a total dud, built around a big concrete block steeping in radioactive Tribute to Satan backwards plays like a Memento Mori prototype. It's sluggish, linear, and loves making the player shotgun swaths of Doom 1 monsters. I wouldn't be surprised if Moeller made Etubert first and reworked it into high-tech grave, but if that's not the case, Moeller didn't learn a lick between then and now. Etubert is even less pleasant than the average Memento Mori map. The part where you hit this button and have to wait 30 seconds for this bar to raise to the escape switch is idiotic. You don't get the super shotgun until Moeller's finished grinding down your will to live, and even the super shotty can't spice up stuff like this. The two exit fakeouts feel downright mean-spirited after such a glum and lifeless experience. Mapset grade D-, difficulty C. Map 7, Hell's Gift. It's wise to never expect anything from Map 7s made in the 90s. Hell's Gift rehashes Dead Simple without any of Jens Nielsen's signature mucking about. It's a pair of symmetrical courtyards which unfold mechanically and play as clunky as they look, with the exception of the Arachno ambush, which is faintly entertaining if you don't flee from it. Grade D, difficulty D+. Map 8, The Reactor. TNT-like in its sinister and immersive set design, The Reactor is another impressive Karanen outing that gives Requiem a much-needed lift. Pun intended. 90s players would have gone gaga over this mineshaft elevator, and the carefully orchestrated sequence of ascents and descents in the nuclear bunker demonstrates significant planning and effort on Karanen's part. Well-oiled though it is, the Reactor's gameplay is decisively one-note. Karanen makes you scrimp on ammo again, and most of his encounters are cramped and repetitive. The only advantage of the close-quarters combat is the increased usefulness of the chainsaw. To players who didn't dig up the secret super shotgun, Karanen is particularly cruel on the home stretch. You have to gun down a Mancubus and 3 Hell Knights point blank with almost no room to dodge, and if your rad suit runs out, which is very likely if you're using the pump action, you'll have to sit through one more long elevator ride before you get to blow up the core. The Reactor succeeds atmospherically, but it's not much fun to play. Grade B, difficulty C+. Map 9, Deep Down Below. Being Doom Modding's going away party, Requiem had to collect bits and bobs from other projects to fill all its slots. Deep Down Below is a modified map from Matthias Warch's standalone WAD, The Trooper's Playground. Having never played it, I wonder what exactly Warch modified that he still missed this critical softlock by the blue key. If you let the door shut behind you, you're stuck unless you no-clip. That glaring error aside, I appreciate this map's relatively bouncy gameplay. The early super shotty keeps fights brief, and Warch doesn't clog his map's arteries with heavy demons. I can picture him smirking while designing this red key denial sequence. It's cute, but kind of a chore. Deep Down Below is a perfect split of pros and cons, and instantly forgettable. Grade C, difficulty C. Map 10, The Black Gate, thy flesh-consumed fanfiction. The Black Gate was Oren Flaherty's last word in the Doom community. He disappeared so thoroughly from the scene that he couldn't even be reached by email when his map was found to be corrupted. The Black Gate was rescued by Requiem MVP Adam Windsor, who gave the map a new ending. I'm not sure it was worth salvaging. Flaherty was incapable of making a map without directly referencing id Software. His levels were polished, but basically devoid of originality. I'll pass The Black Gate, but I'll also pass on it in the future. Grade D, difficulty C+. Map 11, Rats in the Walls. Not counting Map 30, I think this is the only Capellan map in the megawad made specifically for Requiem, and it shows. The careful detailing and high density intensity make this one of my favorite Requiem maps to look at and play. This rugged chemical plant is crisply lit and adorned with jutting crisscrosses of pipes. I usually don't like low ceilings, but the paranoid feeling they create works for this map. The red key ambush floods the place with what I assume are the metaphorical wall-dwelling rodents. For my money, it's the best fight in the megawad so far. I promptly forgot about this map when I first played it 2 years ago, but Rats in the Walls really surged in the Requiem power rankings this time round. Grade B+, difficulty C. Map 12, Militant Reprisal. The plodding, long-winded Militant Reprisal will eat any momentum carried over from Rats in the Walls. You'll be fighting its layout as much as its garrison of hungry zombies. Though far from ugly or technically incompetent, Military Reprisal suffers from severe bloat. There are 23 secrets in this map, including a shootable green torch and a shootable hanging corpse, and the action is sluggish, scattershot, and cheap. The hit scanner fire-choked darkroom at the start is a dirty dog. The out-of-the-blue double Baron fight that references Command Center is about as fun as a root canal without the secret SSG or rocket launcher, and the pop-up Baron by the exit is just rude. I can't tell if this fake wall is a troll or a mistake because Mr. Quick isn't the most reliable narrator. According to Doom Wiki, 3 secrets are unreachable, and the yellow keycard serves no purpose because there aren't any yellow doors in the map. The handful of moments inspired by Ike Kiranen and Mark Klem's unhinged MIDI partially redeem this one, but I still think this kind of map will turn people away from Requiem. Grade D, difficulty C+. Map 13, Town of the Dead. Town of the Dead is Requiem's architectural pinnacle and one of the most impressive vanilla maps made in the pre-SourcePort era. Over the next decade, it would inspire countless mappers to try their hand at room over room in Doom, but few of them pulled it off, like Town of the Dead. Even with a limited understanding of how it works, I'm pretty floored by the hackery on display here. Kiranen's extensive use of decorative mid-textures, thorough lighting, and commitment to a texture theme are also commendable. Unfortunately, Town of the Dead works a lot better as a tech demo than a Doom map. It's strictly linear, and the combat is surprisingly terrible. Ike is irrationally fond of making you fight Mancubi, Hell Nobles, and Revenants in really close quarters, placing them at the bottom of elevators, around corners, and astride bridges like toll trolls. The Mancubi guarding the yellow key are surly sons of bitches. One steals your health, the other steals your ammo. Town of the Dead does end on a good note. The monster statues in the cemetery come to life when you try to leave. My conclusion is innovation and historical importance outshine the unfun gameplay here. Grade B+, difficulty C+. Map 14, The Portal. Austere and aggravating, The Portal fumbles an excellent start with stingy disbursement of health and ammo. This early Revenant and Kako fight is a scream, but Eric Sambach eschews open spaces for the rest of the map, preferring to march you through copy-pasted mine shafts and countertop-looking corridors overloaded with zombies and Hell Nobles. If you want to max this map, you better go ham with Berserk. Save your bullets and shells for hit scanners and punch the rest. Also, I don't advise taking any damage unless you know where all the secrets are, because Sambach's a real Scrooge with medikits, especially in the secret blue key wing, which chases Arachnotron and undead snipers with a small horde of Pinkies and Barons, Requiem's first 2 Archviles, and a bundle of imps. There's not a single point of health in this room. Who in their right mind thought that was a good idea? Only Doomsday preppers will have an answer for the final room. The titular portal is guarded by a 3rd Archvile, 4 Chain Gunners, and 4 Revenants who warp in to replace them. This map's drabness, obscure extracurricular content, and parsimonious supply placement get nothing but bitterness from me. Grade F, difficulty B+. Map 15, Last Resort. After an enclosed, hostile start, Last Resort all too briefly spills into a big courtyard shootout before reeling back indoors for more of what Doom players really want. Requiem knows me so well. For the most part, this castle sacking is pretty boring, but I do like the salt mine ambushes, and these Pinky swarms are worth a chuckle. I don't exactly know how progression in this map works, but you should probably shoot anything that looks like it ought to be shot. Requiem continues to be very unfriendly to pistol starters. If you find it earlier than I did, this secret Berserk will assist greatly with ammo issues. To the surprise of nobody, this Jeremy Doyle MIDI rocks the house, but I wonder if a quiet track might have fit better, what with the inevitable lulls that first-timers will experience. In the text file, Warch warns players not to kill all the monsters if they want to reach the secret exit, winky face. He's referring to Archibald, of course, who provides passage over this gap in exchange for 80 hit points and change. Overall, Last Resort is dry and unpleasantly convoluted compared to Matty Warch's other stuff. Grade C-, difficulty B. Map 31, Doorway to Quake. Seems pretty morbid to put a Quake map in a megawad dedicated to Doom's impending death, don't you think? Joking aside, Ike Kiranen's astute translation of the Door to Cthon is as good a technical showcase as Town of the Dead and a bit more spry. Kiranen was also a Quake mapper, and I'm not sure where this level fits into his transition between games, but one thing is clear. His intuitive understanding of the Doom engine was pretty much unsurpassed when he left it behind. I'm surprised Ike didn't try to make a horizontal crusher after somehow pulling off a comparable falling sequence to E1M6's. Look at how cool this is. The threat of ammo starvation and 4 shaved shamblers will be your only issues here. Finding the secret super nail gun takes care of both. As secret maps go, Doorway to Quake was among the best of its day. Grade A-, difficulty C+. Map 32, Bitter Herb. Well, Capellan, you tried. Bearing in mind that this level was created at the last minute to round out Requiem's roster makes it slightly less disappointing. Bitter Herb sets itself up for excitement but ends much too quickly. Ignore the cacos, get the yellow key, mow down the Archviles, clean up, and your job is done. Grade D, difficulty D+. Map 16, Escape from Chaos. I don't know about this one. Escape from Chaos strikes me as a collage of ideas Ike Karanen didn't want to throw away. The brownstone warehouse, poison processing callback, and hell scenes are uncomfortable neighbors, and the jagged transitions between them don't make much sense. Call it surrealism if you like, but I don't think Karanen needs the slack. His combat is getting worse. Escape from Chaos is yet another parade of mindless, up-close shotgun splurges, mercifully abridged by careful plasma usage. I do admire Karanen for forcing 1997 players out of their comfort zones movement-wise. All this shimmying makes you feel like you're going where you're not meant to, and this neat platform puzzle sets up a dramatic jump over nukage. It's also impossible to dislike the spaceship at the end. Make sure to check for stowaways before blast-off. I think the discomfiting gameplay outweighs Karanen's cleverness this time around. Grade C+, difficulty C+. Map 17, Dens of Iniquity. I've played Dens of Iniquity more than any other Requiem map for the sole reason that 17 is my favorite number, and I often skip to map 17s in random wads when I want to get a feel for them. That's a lucky break for Dens of Iniquity because it's a brutal first playthrough and requires prodigious foreknowledge or finely honed Doom instincts to fully enjoy. Dens of Iniquity is a circuitous, trap-riddled fusion of tech base, castle, and nightmarish abstraction underpinned by Jeremy Doyle's MIDI, which is perpetually coiled and ready to strike. Because I like you guys, I'm going to share with you 2 keys to unraveling Dens of Iniquity. Number 1, the super shotgun is right here, and it being hidden is the most BS part of the map. Number 2, Michael Rapp uses difficulty settings to move his keys around, and he's particularly merciless on UV. Take note of the bloodfall that disappears when you get the red key, and that will lead you to the yellow key. Unlocking the exit is also nefariously tricky, but I'll let you figure that one out for yourself. I confess, it's not very consistent of me to praise a map like this. Dens of Iniquity is winding and opaque, hides a lot of monsters in crannies, and doesn't wow in the gameplay department, but it does have a megawad defining bone of dread in it, and gave me a genuine thrill to finally fully delve after 3 playthroughs. Grade A-, difficulty C+. Map 18, Base of Thorn. The square, under-detailed, and procedural Base of Thorn makes Memento Mori's House of Thorn look good, and I gave that map a D. The meanness with hit scanners combined with cloak and dagger nonsense like this deadly fake wall, 20 damage slime floor, and impossible secrets make this an easy map to hate. Shoot a flickering computer panel, backtrack to the start, take a teleporter, and kill 3 archviles for a BFG? Give me a break. The chain gunner ambush guarding the red key is a fittingly terrible conclusion to one of Requiem's obvious bombs. Grade D-, difficulty B-. Map 19, Skinny Puppy. Eccentric, eclectic, and electric, Skinny Puppy is Requiem's most forward-thinking map from a gameplay perspective. Somehow this hot-blooded gem fled my memory between playthroughs 1 and 2, but I'm not gonna forget Skinny Puppy again. Anthony Adillusion Zerwanka turns a fairly generic hub-spoke map template into a whirling wheel of death. Each branch is a self-contained challenge that mandates ammo conservation and quick thinking. The Mancubus corridor will eat you alive if you fire on the zombies before grabbing the rocket launcher. The arachnos in the poison trough chamber will slice and dice the indolent, and the vicious flood of chain gunners and archviles at the start of the yellow key wing is a panic moment even with a megasphere in your pocket. The platforming stage, annoying as it must have been in 97, looks downright prophetic today. This is Stardate 20XD6's grandfather we're looking at. This is probably the pleasantest surprise in Requiem's entire roster, but it's also the last map in the megawad that I actually like. Buckle up, people. Grade A-, difficulty B. Map 20, The Forsaken Hall. 30 monsters? What? The Forsaken Hall is a harmless 2-minute castle caper utterly shafted by its placement in the 20 slot. It was made for Adam Windsor's Demonfear, which is full of potato chip maps like this one. I don't hate The Forsaken Hall, but it's a total buzzkill, a victim of one of Doom history's all-time worst map orderings. Grade C-, difficulty E. Map 21, Den of the Skull. If I wanted to play the Doom equivalent of dropping acid, I'd play Mach 2 the speed of stupid. Den of the Skull is a half-hour showcase of all the things Anthony Gallica knows how to do in Doom. The forced 3D segments, invisible sectors, shootable switches, scenery changes, ad hoc scripting, deep water, and schmancy sector art only ever serve to make the player go wow. The action is very erratic and oversimplified by the early plasma weapons, and the excess of anorexic hallways and barrens makes me queasy. I need more fingers to count the number of times I audibly said "what" in this recording. What? 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 Den of the Skull's parade of parlor tricks is self-indulgent, disorienting, and ultimately self-defeating. Grade F, difficulty C+. Map 22, Arachnophobia. I don't have any nice things to say about this map. The clunkiness and rigidity of Karanen's gameplay is more forgivable in his photogenic levels, but Arachnophobia is not photogenic, and it doubles down on his inexplicable obsession with fighting demons in narrow hallways and choke points. No wonder people thought Doom was headed for the morgue. The community's best and brightest at the time thought paying ammo tolls and cattle shoots was fun. The closed layout makes the spiders ineffective and loud. Their concerted stomping mixes unpleasantly with the whining drone of Mark Klem's weakest MIDI in the megawad. When he's not making you fight hefties in corridors too narrow for you to dodge their projectiles, Ike's content to let you peekaboo and BFG your way through his map. With a bulk cell in your backpack, the final boss battle against Mama Spider and Entourage is as disappointing as what led up to it. I actually like Hell Revealed's Arachnophobia better. Haggai Niv 1, Ike Karanen 0. Grade D, difficulty B-. Map 23, Hatred. Easily the most absurd and experimental map Dario Casali ever built, Hatred is a cornucopia of gimmicks that no Requiem or Plutonia map can rival for sheer audacity. Hatred plays its first prank when you pick up a yellow key. The archvile purring away in the blood fountain will start resurrecting the crushed corpses of a dozen Wolfenstein SS. Ready the rocket launcher and splash these spectral anti-Semites. If you run out of rockets, this non-secret invuln pairs nicely with barrel explosions. After that, Hatred opens up into a big beige monster playground patrolled by 3 cyber demons. Casali doesn't mark his locked doors, nor does he seem sympathetic to complaints of being blocked by infinitely tall monsters. Jump, shoot, and shimmy your way to the red key, whittle down the stragglers, and get ready for Hatred's last hurrah. You can't run or hide from the most unexpected icon of sin this side of Y2K. The only way to shut off the nightmare machine is to hit this switch and spam rockets at the brain hole until they connect with Romero's forehead. To date, this is Dario Casali's last publicly released Doom map, and I have no idea what to make of that fact. In Requiem and in his wadography, it's a complete non sequitur. Grade B-, difficulty B+. Oh boy, Map 24, Procrustes Chambers. One of the most nauseating pistol starts in Doom history, Procrustes Chambers takes its name from a character in Greek mythology who famously murdered travelers with an adjustable iron bed. He'd fit tall people to the bed's length by chopping their legs off, and used it like a rack to stretch the short people to death. Even if you don't know your classics, it won't take you long to discover Procrustes Chambers' intentions. If you don't know where to look, this map is almost completely devoid of health and ammo, you don't get a berserk, and even the chainsaw is heavily guarded. There's an extremely obscure non-secret cache of ammo, health, and weapons that makes Procrustes tolerable, but I chose to ignore it because I wanted to experience the map the way Adillusion meant us to. You see, Procrustes' reputation precedes it. I researched and mentally prepared for this, and it still took me 40 minutes to beat. Even the Hell Revealed 2 folks would balk at Adillusion's atrocities. Precious health and rockets steep in lava, which you can only safely reach with a rad suit guarded by pinkies. Pain elementals, barons, mancubi, and revenants that can't be herded or killed with infighting must be chainsawed. Non-clairvoyants will be punished for pressing the buttons on this column out of order with a baron that permanently blocks your path to a mega armor or 2 archviles who will promptly end your run. Procrustes Chambers is unconscionably cruel, and its infamous non-secret supplies deprive the player of the hollow honor of surviving it. I struggle to understand why a mapper would commit so completely to such a joyless concept, but my bafflement slightly outweighs my hatred for this map. Grade D-, difficulty A+. Map 25, Chaos Zone. Another donation from Demonfear, Eno Soak backwards goes light on decoration exploration, but it's much less flimsy than Forsaken Hall. You might be tempted to roll your eyes at Chaos Zone after the last Capellan joint, but it's got a nasty habit of spontaneously generating hit scanners, and it's fairly light on health and ammo. The second and final room culminates in a desperate shootout with zombies, imps, and a prowling archvile. It's little wonder Scythe's super secret stage riffed on this map. Chaos Zone's brevity and directness live on through Eric Alm's early work. Grade C+, difficulty C+. Map 26, Excoriation. I don't think this has ever happened to me before, but I fell into a fit of chuckles when I finished recording this 2-minute map. Even more so than Forsaken Hall, Excoriation is a total fish out of water in this megawad. Only map 2 has fewer monsters, and it's the smallest by square feet. Aside from the tricky start with a perched vial and pesky pain elemental, Excoriation is also the easiest level in the set. I don't dislike this map, but you'd have to be barking mad to put it in the 26 slot. Grade C, difficulty D-. Map 27, Cursed Kingdom. Ika Kuranen sacrifices detail for scale in this sprawling medieval city map. There's a sort of nostalgic grandeur to these huge blocky buildings painted in swaths of brick textures that I've come to appreciate, though Kuranen's decorative standards do drop precipitously at this megawad's end. Propelled by a Mark Klem MIDI that was criminally misused in map 2, Cursed Kingdom is a grip and ripper that gives the player oodles of space and cell packs to do battle with hordes of hell's worst. Thankfully, Kuranen has finally taken a break from pinched corridor fights, for the most part, but he recycles the Instapop BFG trap and Mastermind boss battle from Arachnophobia. This silver device needs to be pressed twice to reveal the red key. Hopefully that saves some poor soul a bit of time. I'm not sure if this will be a slander to Requiem or a compliment to Cursed Kingdom, but Kuranen's farewell map is one of the most exciting in the megawad. Grade B-, difficulty C+. Map 28, Fetal's Remains. Now that I've replayed Requiem, there's no doubt in my mind that Anthony Zerwanka is the project's most interesting mapper. Fetal's Remains is a dank dungeon of butchery, neatly drawn but strewn with carrion. It initially appears to be Zerwanka's kindest submission since map 2, but cross this bridge to a pop-up spider and baron ambush, unlock the way forward by pressing the green torchlit plus sign, and feast your eyes on this. If you burnt through your rockets before taking on the Archvile and his honor guard, you might as well restart. Mappers in the 90s seemed less concerned with keeping the player from screwing themselves over, and in a certain light, I think that's an attractive quality. Fetal's Remains ends when you place the red skull key next to its siblings, capping off a strange and exciting run for Adillusion. Grade B, difficulty B-. Map 29, Downer. Wow, I'm really excited to play this now. Made with the word hard in mind, according to its designer, Downer is a lugubrious plod through bullet-riddled passageways and cheap hellish tricks. Williamson loves lining his corridors with hit scanners and inaccessible cubbies, which is especially frustrating when you realize that a good chunk of your ammo pickups come from dead zombies in this map. I sure hope you find the secret rocket launcher, because Downer has no chainsaw and no steroids. 2 of Downer's 3 archviles are uncharacteristically vicious to deal with. Williamson places them at bottlenecks and gives them entirely too many beefy playthings to work with. I disapprove of this Doom Guy High Crusher Gantlet, which will inevitably damage you, and scoff at these 2 prominent fake walls. One at the beginning hides a mega armor, backpack, and imp, which all become inaccessible when you drop down to the level proper, and the other camouflages a very mean chain gunner in the marble zone. Downer closes out on yet another Spider Mastermind boss battle, which is probably a cakewalk if you found the BFG, but I'm not that lucky. Requiem's penultimate map is overlong, uninspired, and aptly named. Grade D-, difficulty B+. Map 30, Nevermore. Also the answer to the question, when will I play Requiem again? Surprisingly pretty and pretty painless, Nevermore is Icon of Sin done the Adam Windsor way, which is short, fast, and easy on the eyes. The atmospheric build-up and neat custom textures make this feel like the ending to a megawad with an actual identity and sense of continuity. Ignore the icon, hit this switch to expose the core, and thread rockets into it without getting telefragged to win the day. Grade B-, difficulty D-. So, Requiem slaloms between chintz and wizardry, between mindless hack and slash and ultra-challenging gameplay, between greatness and infamy. Let's get the negatives out of the way first. Requiem is barely finished, and the years have not been kind to it. Requiem's disparate influences, inconsistent goals, and inclusion of filler and blatant duds make the whole less than the sum of its parts. Even Memento Mori feels like more of a complete package than this. On the other side of the coin, the scattershot quality of these maps brought their creators' personalities into sharper relief. Who could forget Ad Illusion's experimental action scenes, Ike Kiranan's jaw-dropping hacks, Dario Casali's wanton gimmickry? Sure, Requiem could have used some more time in the oven, but there are some genuinely excellent maps mixed into the grab bag, and Mark Klem, David Shaw, and Jeremy Doyle's soundtrack elevates the production quality of the entire endeavor. My final grade for Requiem is a C-. Difficulty-wise, Requiem is probably the most erratic, high-profile WAD of the 90s, but I think we can settle on a C, placing it a full mark above Doom 2. Now for my Dean's List. Valedictorian, Map 19, Skinny Puppy. Salutatorian, Map 31, Doorway to Quake. Class President, Map 24, Procrustes Chambers, and the dunce cap goes to Map 21, Den of the Skull. Thank you very much for watching, and please feel free to share your thoughts in the WAD down below. I'd love to hear what you think, and I'll heart your comments to let you know I've read them. Now I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge my generous patrons. Aaron Allen, Agile Jackson, Agu XYZ, Alephany, Alex Topfer, Artisan Talzar, Bo Higginbotham, Beatbeard, Ben Barrett, Big Psy and his trusty Glock, Birdburn, Blexor, Blind as a Mat, Builder Sith, Bitefire, Kappa-Bitch, Captain Wave, Cheese Wheel, Christophine Place, Cram Salesman, Cutman Mike, Damo, Dan, Dario Romero, Delirium, Doot Yourself, Dorothy Miller, Eggboy, Emeljan, Emma Essex, Folkstorm, Francis T218, General Roasterock, Gothic Box, Griffin Upchurch, Hassamnas, Henners Lenners, Hexelix, Hot Tomato, Hyaksho, Idiot Supreme, In Captivity, Jeff Hibbert, John Averick, Jose Ballestero, Josh Ballard, Jude, Just Some Schmuck, Just Great 98, Killplane, Quan, Large Cat, Lexi Max, Lucrenth, Lumnal, Mancubian Candidate, Maniac, Mark Rowland, Master Drew 117, Matthew Gower, McJimbles, Michael Akins, Miracle Water, Mixer, Moko Mothman MM47, Mosicon, Mr. Bob Cyndaquil, Myolden, Nafferty, Neurometry, Nick XCOM, Knights 108, Number 26, Not Obelisk, NX Avery, Omnibot, Painful Hill 72, Pengerzan, Pezaveng Jaj, Phantom Puff, Philip Coffee, Pyro She, Quibs, Red Doomed Earth, Reese, Reese Anderson, Richard Fry, Roadworks, Robbie Lyons, Roofy, Sega Monkey, Sean Grant, Sid Menon, Sir Lethbridge Doomer, Smole Venom, Stonemason, Stupid Nick, Sunriser, Super Pecan Man, Sylvester Priss, Tarakushino, That Guy Known as Will, The Fiery Charmeleon, The Freeman 500, The Sapphire Try, TJG 1289, Trilby Trillion, Turbine 2K5, Why Bimo Not a Crab, William Huber, and Wankashak. Thank you. I appreciate you all very much. This is Mount Pain 27, and I'll see you in the next episode of Dean of Doom.